What's up, guys? It's your girl, Phoenix Novell. And I want to say thank you for tuning into another Musicians on Gigs artist interview. Today, I have a very special guest with me. He is a fellow musician, multi-instrumentalist, and his name is WEI. Believe it or not, I met WEI on a flight to do a gig in Florida, probably about, I want to say a week and a half ago. Was it that long? About a week?
Yeah.
A week and a half ago. I was joining L Live. L Live Productions is one of the biggest booking agents for cover bands and artists internationally. And I worked with them a few years back. I got a call from the CEO saying, "Hey, can you come and join us for this big event for the GMs of all the Hyatts all over the world?" And I'm like, yes. So I was on a flight with another musician that was on the same gig, and WEI was sitting with us, in the assigned seats. I went to the bathroom, came back, and he was in a conversation with Joaquin. And of course, I just could not mind my business. So I was like, hey, I'm sorry, I overheard, you're a musician. And then we got to talking. So I gave him my contact and checked out his music. And I was just like, yes, I got to contact this dude. I definitely want him on my channel. You know, there are musicians are everywhere. Artists are all over the world. And I never miss out on the opportunity to connect with artists. I haven't traveled since the pandemic. So I was definitely excited to travel, especially for a gig, but to also get a chance to actually meet other artists who are performing and who are working on their original projects, and not just kind of like keeping their dream in their head, but actually connecting with other artists. And so we didn't have haven't had tons and tons of interactions or conversations, but our conversation on the flight was, in my opinion, very substantial. I learned a lot about WEI. I learned a lot about who he is. I listened to his music, and like I said, I'm very intrigued when artists are original. I love it when they're not afraid to be themselves. So I decided to bring WEI on my platform and introduce you guys to him, because again, I think it's amazing when artists collaborate, when artists aren't afraid to share their music with the world and share their creativity. We don't know where our music is going to go. We don't know how far. We don't know how many people it's going to touch. We don't know why we're inspired to do the things we do. We just know that we have to do them, and we're answering the call. So I am thrilled to connect with another artist who answers their creative call, and that's WEI. So WEI, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, I have some questions, and I'm just going to go down and just kind of feel free to share whatever you want with the audience. And without further ado, number one. Now, WEI, where are you currently from, and where do you currently live if they're not the same place?
For sure. Currently I'm in Orlando, Florida. I'm doing a master's degree right now at University of Central Florida. But originally I was raised in West Palm Beach, Florida, which is about an hour and a half north of Miami, and lived there for about 22 years. So yeah, it's been a while.
Okay, so I mean,
Yeah.
we were headed to do a gig in Orlando, Florida when we met. So you were coming from LA. What were you doing in LA?
I have a couple friends there, Noah and Jaden. Noah was my high school friend from West Palm, who just happened to graduate from University of Miami, to kind of develop his music career in Los Angeles. He made a best friend while he was in his college, named Jaden Kim. They both became good friends in Miami, and eventually they moved back. Well, Jaden moved back. Noah decided to become roommates with him to kind of develop their music careers simultaneously. And because I kept in touch with them for so long, I've been kind of friends because we've been kind of doing music and stuff. I was kind of like, why don't I just check out LA? I've never been to the West Coast ever. I mean, I went to Seattle 2 months ago, but for like forever, for like ever since I was born, I've always wanted to visit California. So I was just like, let's book a weekend, let's check it out. Let's see what the scene is like, because I'm very familiar with the Florida scene, but not so much with outside of the state. So went there for 3 days, came back. It was an awesome time. So yeah.
Awesome. Now, can I ask a little bit about their, I mean, I know you said they're out here kind of like trying to pursue their careers in music. What what do they think about the LA scene? Have they had success so far gigging or connecting with like, labels or anything? What are their goals?
Well, Jaden has family there, so he moved back to that area. Noah got the internship in LA. I think overall they think it's great. It seems like compared to Florida, there's a lot more opportunities there to meet people and to kind of gig around and play shows with people that they probably wouldn't have met if they hadn't gone to probably the biggest music scene in the world, I believe, in my opinion. So I took their word for it before I came by, and that's the reason why I visited as well, just to be like, okay, like they have their perspective on it. It seems overall a positive experience, but how will I enjoy it when I go there? And I can vouch for it. Yeah, I can see that they have a point there too. Yeah.
Well, I heard, I mean, I just want to piggyback off of something you said when you said that you always wanted to check out California. It's crazy because I never had dreams of coming to La La Land. Like as an artist myself who is extremely ambitious and so creatively driven, this was not a place I had on my wish list to come. And I was just here by default, because of the pandemic and me knowing somebody. But
Mhm.
when you were here for those 3 days, did it disappoint in terms of just the feeling, not necessarily the music scene, but in terms of what it looked like, how it felt, what you saw? Would you say that it lived up to maybe the expectations or what you had in your imagination about what LA would be like?
I think so, yeah. I used to watch a lot of BuzzFeed
Okay.
when I was towards the end of high school in 2016. I was so obsessed with it to the point where I was like, okay, maybe I want to go to UCLA for my bachelor's. And I actually just ended up applying for Florida schools because I think it was a minimum 3.8 GPA to get in, and I had a 3.2 from high school. So, um, but that's besides the point. What I saw on BuzzFeed was they're kind of like, oh, here's like the expectation of LA, and then on like the next scene is like, oh, here's the reality of it. And it's like, yeah, like I do like the weather. I do like the scenery there. It seems like everywhere, every single strip plaza or mall, every single house, you can shoot a film there. You can do a photo shoot
Yeah.
and it would look good regardless. What they did get right was the driving. Um, I mean, coming from Florida, like I drive everywhere here. So even my friend Noah said the same thing. He was like, yeah, like because I got trained as a driver in Miami, I feel like I can kind of adapt quickly here. And I kind of agreed with him because people, they're out there kind of being crazy with their driving. And same with Miami. Miami's, I think, a bit more aggressive. And so
Really?
like yeah, I remembered when I was in LA, there'd be like huge traffic on the major highways, and Noah would just he would enter the highway and he would just assert himself into the left lane over, and people don't seem to do that there, and so he's like, yeah, like because because you're trained. I was trained to drive in Miami. People are kind of taken aback when I'm on the road and they think I'm insane. So, um, but otherwise, I think California and Florida are pretty much similar in terms of living day to day.
Okay.
Drive everywhere, you go everywhere to like, there's I'm just like comparing it to Chicago. Chicago has public transit, but like, yeah, you drive everywhere. It kind of feels like how I am here in Florida. It's just, yeah, the weather, the art scene is a bit bigger there. There's more opportunities. And it's also just more, I don't know, more aesthetic in a way. It just feels like a lot of Orlando's infrastructure, a lot of Florida's infrastructure is more recent, excluding Tampa and a bit of Orlando, but like West Palm Beach, it feels like what you see in the pictures, a little bit 80s, a bit recent.
Oh,
But yeah, it just feels like there's more, I don't know, more historic, a more historic vibe with it. So
understood. Okay,
yeah.
well, I'd like to ask you, what are you currently working on creatively that gets you excited? This can be music, family, or anything at all. What gets you out of bed in the morning feeling like I'm so blessed or pleased to be doing XYZ?
Yeah. I think my solo project, Birds Outside, just keeps me going every day, along with singing as well.
Mhm.
Um, to me, I've always had these melodies in my head. I've always had these song ideas in my head since I was little. I actually grew up in Delaware for the first 6 years of my life. But even from then till here in to West Palm Beach, Florida, my parents
Wait,
would always play
Delaware?
music. Wilmington, Delaware.
You mean like in the East Coast?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my,
Um,
I'm from Philly. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Ah!
I used to my parents would always take me to Philly every weekend when we lived there. It was a 45-minute drive. So
Oh, hello,
yeah.
neighbor.
Hello. Yeah, I do miss the seafood, the clam chowder there. I was 6 years old, but even then I could still remember the taste and the quality of it. But yeah, my parents, they'd always play like not only just, Chinese pop music in the Chinese takeout restaurant, but also my mom super into Motown, 70s, disco, dad rock, 80s pop, even Shakira. Like it just like spanned so many decades, and she would just play that in the restaurant all the time. And I would be kind of sitting there doing homework or playing on my little like Game Boy, and kind of like thinking like, oh, like I could add this bass line to it. I could add this like singing melody over it. Um, and I just kind of put that aside for so many years. And once the pandemic hit, I was kind of like, man, like, what am I doing? I'm kind of just working every day. I'm not really doing anything productive. What is like the meaning of, my day to day? And once I just moved out of my parents' house to go to Orlando, I just kind of was like, this is a restart. This is a fresh start for me. Let me try something different. And I started writing um, some songs to fruition, and uh, not only writing them, but also recording them in a DAW, producing it, releasing it, marketing it, which I found is all four of those things. It's a whole different beast from just playing a song, but super fulfilling. I really like if I didn't start this now, I think I would be on my deathbed thinking like, why didn't I start any sooner? So I think that's a huge thing. Singing as well. I wish I had started earlier. I remembered in middle school, um, I did bands in middle school and high school and a little bit into college as well. But in middle school, I had like these dreams while I was just playing away on my trumpet. I was kind of like, what if after the whole band plays, my band director just lets me have like a solo performance where I go on keyboard and I sing Rocket Man or Piano Man by or Tiny Dancer by Elton John and just do that. But uh yeah, it wasn't until the pandemic again, I was like, what am I doing? So I hired a vocal teacher, vocal coach, and studied under her for a whole year, um, along with Noah as well. Noah is a huge influence on my singing as well. He did vocal performance at University of Miami, and so I trust him heavily with his vocal feedback, and so I would send him pick videos and recordings of me singing in front of a mirror, or just on my phone, kind of being like, is there too much tension in my neck? Am I clenching my jaw too hard? Is the tongue relaxed? And he'd be like, "Wait, you gotta like relax here. You gotta add more breath." And I think singing is a different beast, honestly. Out of all the instruments, like ever, like people don't think singing is like a hard instrument, but like I think it's harder than guitar or bass or piano because you have to, I feel like with those instruments, they lay out the notes. But with singing, you are the instrument. You have to support your voice in the best way possible to get the best tone possible. And so I started obsessing over my tone, obsessing over how I can uh, uh, refine my mixed voice. It was insane. I went down, I'm still down this rabbit hole to this day. It's not as much because I feel like it's a little bit more refined now, but man, it just made me realize, okay, yeah, like, I can pluck away on the bass, I can strum on a guitar, but like to actually have a good singing voice, that's a lot of respect for myself, and it taught me a lot of self-love. So yeah, I hope that was a lot, but
It
I
was
hope it
it,
got the point across.
it was necessary. And, I want to piggyback once again off of what you mentioned about being the instrument as a singer. Singing is how I have been afforded the privilege of traveling the world, and supporting myself for almost 15 years now. And you know, I've actually tried to teach myself, which has been very hard because I don't know, it's muscle memory. It's if you don't use it, you lose it. And so I was trying to teach myself the guitar, trying to teach myself the keys, and actually trying to teach yourself something versus you being born with a gift. Because I did not teach myself how to sing. It wasn't something that I actually ever had. I went to school, to performing arts high school, to better my singing ability, but not to learn how to sing. I got in because I could sing. And so I never really had to learn how to do that. You learn how to do it properly to not, give yourself vocal nodules or how to, damage your voice. You learn the instrument, but to some people just from a very young age, they have very mellifluous, sweet sounding, great sounding tones or voices. And I think I was blessed with having a great sounding voice. But sometimes it would be challenging, especially when you would get a gig as the vocal instrument and then you got sick, or you got nervous when you got on stage. I know it's the same thing if I was to play an instrument with my hands. If I got nervous, my hands could shake, right? I could play wrong notes all day long. But there's something about the voice where it's almost unforgiving. You know what I mean? It's like you could be fine. You could practice up until the last minute. Everything could be, but something could just, I don't know. Your voice isn't always, it's not a guarantee. And I don't know if I don't know if you could say the same thing about an instrument, because I could have a cold or something wrong with my body, but still play the bass or still play the keys or still play the drums. I could play through my sickness. But as a vocalist, it's like I have to learn ways to get through this if I need that money and I can't cancel that gig. I got to learn ways to get through this, that because my whole body has to be in alignment in order for this thing to sound good sometimes. I know singers who will drink alcohol to get their nerves down so that they can, and it's just it's crazy to me how fragile this thing is. It's muscles, so you still need to take care of it well. But I just like how you phrase that, because there are some people who, like I said, they don't have to spend a whole lot of money or time learning how to do something, but yet there's so much that relies on this thing acting right. You know what I mean? And it's just to me, it's just a little more fragile. I want to ask you another question. I know you play the bass, and you said that you mentioned the trumpet too. You play the
Yeah.
bass, the trumpet,
Trombone,
trombone,
guitar,
guitar,
yeah.
and
Synth, yeah. Tech a little bit though. It's not like proficient, but I can understand the theory
If
behind it.
you if you only could do, thank God you don't have to, but if you could only do one of those things, what would you say? I could never ever be without this. What would it be?
Bass for sure.
What is it about the bass? I don't know why I was engaged to a bass player. There's something about the I
Yeah.
don't know. It's something about those lows that I just panties off. I don't know. But if I don't know why. What was it about the bass that spoke to you of all the instruments that made you feel like you had to like take it up?
I don't blame you with the engagement. I think it's just I feel like bassists are a vibe machine. Like like for me, like um I don't I it was only recently when I was dating my ex-girlfriend at the time,
Mhm.
but she told me I was a himbo. Which is like you know what that is, right?
No, a himbo?
It's
What is a himbo?
it's like bimbo but for guys.
Oh,
So like if people are unfamiliar with it, it's kind
I
of
like
like a person that I don't want to say I'm that charismatic, but maybe I am, but like super charismatic people, but have not that aren't projecting intelligence in a way. So for me with bass, it just I don't like thinking about music when I do it. So that's why like I kind of struggle a little bit when I play trumpet or trombone or play chords on a piano or a guitar, because I have to think so much about, okay, what's the next chord coming up? Is there like a chord substitution that I can do to make it sound better? And then with the trombone and trumpet, the fingering and the slides really just get in the way of having my ideas flow.
that.
But with bass, it's like I like to think of it as just a drum set with, with as a piano roll from a DAW. Like I can just like vibe with the kick drum, or I can vibe with what the rhythm of the song should be. Just play the root note, but embellish the root note with um, variations in the rhythm. And for me, like, I don't know. I I used to think like, oh, like music is like kind of all the same. Like every musician is the same, but if you look specifically into each personality trait for each instrument, you can tell that there's a little bit of a difference. And I feel like with guitar players and singers, it's a lot of dominance in conversations and social events or social situations. I feel like with rhythm players like drummers and uh and bassists, I feel like there's more of a vibe to it. I feel like most of them are pretty chill and just kind of laid back in those same situations. But I don't know. I guess to kind of sum it up, just the vibe, chill out. You don't have, I feel like I don't have to think as hard on bass, but you can still make it sound good because at the end of the day, you are feeling the song, right? So, um, I want to make sure that when I feel the song that it's as best as it can be. So,
Okay. I
yeah.
I I kind of want to go back again to something you said, just referencing how you were talking to your friend Noah and had the vocal coach in reference to all of the things that you have to think about when you play, right? As a singer, that's kind of like I know you said, I don't like to have to think as hard. You want to be into it. And yeah, that's it. It's I guess it's the same thing when you're a singer. It's like, I don't know, I think we all have our own hangups. It just depends where. But as a singer, I'm thinking about what I look like. I'm thinking about what 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 the facial expressions of people in the audience means. I hate that shit. Like I absolutely hate that my mind won't just let me be free and sing this song that I practiced for like weeks and weeks to really like sell. And but I mean, I guess I don't know, it's a part of the human experience. Maybe some people don't have to do it, but I think I'm the same way where it's like, hey, I'm going to sing. So I try to find ways to not lose myself in what I see out there. So sometimes I'm closing my eyes or I'll wear glasses, but literally I'm in my head more than half the time that I'm performing. As an example, I don't know, it wasn't like I was trying to be, but I just was. Um, we for the show that that we were heading to when we met you, I had to start the show off after the instrumentalist did a couple instrumentals, I came on literally having to start at last kind of by myself. So they had the intro part, and then I'm like, "Last my love," but I'm like, dude, when I tell you, it was dead silent, no keys, it was just dead silent, and there's all these people around. I'm walking up the steps, thinking about my hair, thinking about my shoes, thinking about my nails, thinking about my dress, and I'm like, my voice is like, and I was like, what the I could not figure out why. I wasn't nervous, my heart wasn't racing, but I sounded like I was in the dryer, like literally, like and I remember looking at the what Joaquin and the other horn players, and they're looking at me like, it looked like I was being shaken by somebody. And then I was able to get it together and find that sweet spot of control. But there was no reason for it. There was absolutely no reason for it. But my voice just decided to take a shit when I needed it at
Yeah.
when I needed it to be upright and ready to go. And that's the rub about you being the instrument when it comes to singing. I know that I think your music is beautiful. I love your tone, as I told you before. So my thing is like, it's a whole different ball game when you roll up into the studio and can take after take after take after take of laying those vocals, versus you got one time to play that one song in front of this audience who you probably don't even know, and they're going to develop their ideas about you, and hopefully you don't think in your mind that you butchered it. So that's
Mhm.
the hard part about being in your head. I want to ask you, Wei, um, singing, playing an instrument, if you could collaborate with any artist from like way before our time or now in whatever field of music, who would it be and why?
Yeah. Um, I would say either the Beatles or Elton John.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I think their songwriting has just had an impact on me, and I just want to dig a little deeper into how they would approach songwriting as well. It just seems like they have an abstract approach to taking inspiration. Because I used to think, well, I would think sometimes like, okay, like these guys were making music in the 60s and the 70s and maybe even the 80s, and the music at the time was maybe jazz, or maybe it was like doo-wop, or like classic rock and roll. Like, how do you approach making, like, for example, the Beatles, like psychedelic music, or with Elton John, maybe a little bit kind of like the same thing as well, psychedelic, but more like kind of enveloping into more melody, like the band Bread. Just there's so much expression, and I just want to kind of dig like, how do you make it different? Um, I wanted to touch on your point as well, with the singing incident in Orlando when you were doing it. Um, I'm totally with you. That's why I like bass as the default instrument as well. It's just you can just kind of chill in the corner there and vibe with the drummer. But like with being a singer or being a lead guitar player, all eyes are on you, and it just takes a very strong mindset to kind of charge on and hope that it lands correctly. But yeah, you're right. It's only one take. You only got one shot. You might as well make it the best that you can be. And that was a huge learning curve when I was starting shows this past year. Like I did a couple shows in, I think, September, October, and uh November as well. But three shows so far. And I hadn't sang since 2017. Just been playing bass for the past several years in several bands, and just to switch that mindset from being in the back to being in the front, um, it's scary. So I'm with you on that.
This room I stand